Well, hello, and welcome to another Rant Rave review. Today I will be raving about some little-known Agatha Christie stories and some very well-known P.G. Wodehouse stories, and then I will be introducing a gimmick to my channel at the end. So, let's jump right in. First, we have the Mr. Quin stories by Agatha Christie. They're all collected in, except for one. All but one are collected into the mysterious Mr. Quin, and I think they're not well known as much as like Poirot and Miss Marple because they're not mysteries per se, although they kind of have a mystery-esque thing of like something is wrong, there are some clues, a figure shows up, fixes things, there's kind of a denouement. But they're not mysteries. So basically the way each of these work is the viewpoint character is Mr. Satterthwaite. Good luck pronouncing it, Satterthwaite. And he is not the detective. He's like, again, the viewpoint character. He's like a Watson. He's there to kind of observe and see what happens. He's a single gentleman. He's into the theater. And again, it's very much like he's the audience and drama happens around him. And the drama always involves some kind of star-crossed lovers. Like people who thought that like they couldn't get married because one of them was a murderer, or someone who, you know, is ready to kill herself because she's convinced that the man she loves is in prison, or all these different things, or, you know, not all of them are that dire, but star-crossed lovers can't be together. Mr. Satterthwaite is there, and again, throughout the story, there's kind of not even clues to what really happened, but just like, you don't know in what way every character is involved until you read the story, and it plunks along. And then the mysterious Mr. Quin, who is Mr. Harley Quinn, is this strange figure. He shows up and just kind of asks questions and kind of pulls out the truth, and then like it, you know, the truth is revealed, and then the star-crossed lovers, generally, not every time, become unstar-crossed and can get together. And it's very interesting. It's almost like not magical realism. I don't know what you would call it. It's like fantastical in that Harley Quinn is like the Harlequin. Like he is a spirit, a fae. Who knows? She never says what he is. He's just this guy. He shows up. His job is to like fix, not always, but to basically like pull out the truth of romance and love and lovers. And it's really cool the way she describes him, where he just wears a normal gray suit. He looks like any other British guy, but like sometimes like the light from the window will shine on him and it looks like a harlequin, or sometimes two different beams from car lights are shining and it's like a hexagonal pattern, not hexagonal, like diamond pattern. And so it's like always like a suggestion of harlequin and the suggestion of the fantastical, even though like he never specifically, you know, it comes out and says, like, this guy is who knows what. It's just, it's really fun. I love that kind of thing of, like, again, when I reviewed Something Wicked This Way Comes, it's, like, sometimes a weird carnival full of, like, who knows what autumn people, just blows into town and starts turning people into freaks and then blows out of town, you know. That just happens sometimes. Sometimes there's just this guy who shows up to, like, fix, you know, problems for people who are in love. That just happens sometimes. And so yeah, they're not mysteries, but they're really cool. And the reason I say they're like mystery adjacent is I was reading this thing about like classic mysteries and how, classically speaking, like the detective exists, like basically there's chaos at the beginning of the story, things are wrong, the detective shows up and his job is to put things right. Like, so you have all this like chaos and disorder, and then by the end, the detective solves it, and now it's fixed. And so the mysterious Mr. Quin stories are like that, where you have this disorder in romance, Mr. Quin shows up, and doesn't really do anything other than, like, pull out the truth, again, like, finding the clues, which is why it's kind of like a denouement, and then at the end, things are fixed, usually. There's one story that's not like that. And then Mr. Satterthwaite is, again, like the Watson watching all this happening. It's very fascinating. I like them. And the reason I'm talking about them in the same video as I'm talking about P.G. Wodehouse is P.G. Wodehouse is another writer, English, wrote 1920s-esque. If you've ever heard of him, you've probably heard of him because of Jeeves and Wooster, which most people have heard of because of the BBC show with Stephen Fry and I'm blanking on that poor man's name. He plays House. Names. Anyway, you know who he is. But yeah, so basically the Jeeves and Wooster stories are the most famous P.G. Wodehouse stories. They're not the only ones. He wrote a ton of stuff. But basically they are the most famous because, I don't know, they're just really great. They're all really, I also like the summer Mr. Milliner series. Yeah, there's a Mr. Milliner series too. But Jeeves and Wooster, the premise of every single one of them is essentially Jeeves is like the quintessential like gentleman's gentleman, like attendant. We in America would think of him as a butler, but like he's not a butler. That's a different job. But he's a gentleman's gentleman. And he just has no emotion, and he just is super duper smart and like eloquent the way he speaks, and brainy, crazy brainy. And Wooster is Bertie Wooster, and he's like a man about town. He's like really, really rich, and he has no job, and he's kind of an idiot. But he has a heart of gold. He's short on mental, but he's got a heart of gold, which it says in one of the books. And every single story is basically Bertie also has like a bunch of aunts and uncles and friends who are all rich, and they have various like problems or romances or things that they want him to do or they need help with, or sometimes it's Bertram himself getting himself into shenanigans and situations. And by the end of the story, and some of them are short stories and some of them are books, Jeeves will eventually like figure out a solution, often involving Bertie having to make a fool of himself. And it's just delightful, and the turn of phrase is amazing. Like the narrative style of Wodehouse is like amazing. Yeah. So they're just very fun. And again, especially like I feel like, again, back to like mystery adjacent and Agatha Christie adjacent of like it's the same time period, it's the same cast of characters of like rich people in England who don't work for a living. Their foibles and their flaws, only instead of like murder and having to solve a murder, it's like social foibles or money problems or romance. And you still have all these little bits and pieces where sometimes you can kind of figure out, like, I wonder if they're going to solve it like that. And then at the end, when Jeeves, like, explains how he solves it, or he, like, you know, tells Bertie, like, what to do, it feels like a denouement. It has that same kind of, like, structure arc of chaos, the detective, which is Jeeves, although he's not a detective, he's a gentleman's gentleman, brings order out of all of that. So it's just very fun, very lighthearted. Yeah, I don't know. I highly recommend them. They are just a nice little thing to read if you want to be in a good mood. So yeah, Jeeves and Wooster, Mr. Quin. I was saying on social media that I think oftentimes we'll describe Jeeves as like just appearing or like shimmering into the room or like he didn't make any noise. And I was like, oh, is he the same kind of like fae spirit that Mr. Quin is? And their job is to like help people and get into or out of romance? Like clearly they're the same genus or species of fae. Anyway, moving on. So that's the review. And now it's time for my gimmick. Look at him. He's an alligator. And he's here to tell you to like and subscribe to please the algorithm. So he's an algorithm alligator, the algorgator. Yeah. My other literally, that's what that is. Yeah, so he can live on this channel. He can live on my shoulder. I also plan, I love when people, I don't love when people leave mean comments on channels, but I've decided that I'm going to start like putting an emoticon or emoji of an alligator on people's mean comments under anyone's videos and be like, thank you for feeding the algorgator, because like when you comment mean things, it actually like any comment helps the video. Doesn't matter if it's mean or not. It's engagement. So remember, if you want to leave a comment, mean or nice, or like or subscribe, it feeds the algorgator. So you have not seen the last of him. He's very adorable. So yeah. Anyway, will it make me post more? No. Will it matter in the grand scheme of things? No. But I like it, and it's fun. All right. See you next time. Bye.